This is Bella, and this is Bella's roadmap to success. Now, I'm doing a little kennel training exercise here, and since it's going to take a little while for her to lay, spelling it because I don't want her to do it on command, I thought we would kill two birds with one stone and do the roadmap to success video. It's a little bit different than I normally do because I'm sitting on a couch somewhere. So I'm going to explain this first since it's timely, and you're going to need to repeat this. If I open the door and let the dog explode out, the dog is just practicing exploding, and that energy is going to be unbalanced, and it's going to get the dog into trouble. So this is a great way to help the dog practice being calm. Now the guardians have to actually physically put her into the kennel. And anytime you force a dog to do something, even though they're not doing it in an abusive way, it still creates a resentment. So the way I did this is what I did is I took these chicken treats and I threw them in here. And she went in pretty much without any problem. I think it's probably because this is not normally nighttime. She goes in here at night when they go to sleep, as well as when the guardians leave. So what you want to do is the same thing I taught, I showed the guardians off camera, and I've got it on my website on doggunproblems.com about how to teach a dog to go to the dog bed. I toss the treat in there. If your dog won't go to get it, I put the treat right up to the edge. The dog walks to the edge, gets the treat, doesn't even have to go in, and then turns and walks away. And I do that consistently until they no longer lean. I don't want to see it lean like that in the dog's back legs. When the dog goes in without any hesitation, it looks nice and relaxed and comfortable. Then what I do is I toss a treat in and I follow silently behind the dog, and I'm doing what I'm doing here. For most dogs, the reason they don't like the kennel is twofold. Number one, I'm restrained. Number two, I'm only put in here when you're leaving me, so you're about to abandon me. So what we do is we take both those things out of the equation. One of the guardians is filming, the other one's sitting right here, so no abandonment, and the door is open. I'm just blocking it with my legs. Now what I'm going to do is I'm waiting for the dog to lay. Now, if I tell the dog to SIT or lay, it does not signify anything. In this capacity, if the dog sits, it's telling me it's relaxed enough to assume a less challenging position. I don't let them stick their head out here either. And I just wait. Now, the record for this, I was telling the guardian, is an hour and 15 minutes. This might take a while. Hopefully, we'll get this video done, and she'll do it on camera. Now, as soon as she SITs, I'm going to step back and let her out, but this is only because this is me doing this. I should have started this at the beginning of the session. Next time you guys do this, make sure she's pottied and everything else. She doesn't have accents in here, does she? She does? Okay. That means she's probably spending too much time in here. Dogs should never be in a kennel for longer than 4 hours. It'll develop cortisol in its blood. So we want to make arrangements to have somebody come home and let the dog out so it's not there for too long. And also we're going to upper exercise, stuff I talked about off camera. So basically what I do is I toss the treat in until the dog goes in without any hesitation. Then I follow behind it and I put my feet here, and I have my feet turned sideways. And I'm just waiting for her to SIT. If she's being really persnickety, you can kind of go like this and keep it, but I try to keep it up as much as I can. Now, this, there we go. All right, so as soon as she SITs, I'm going to take a step backwards and invite her out. But for you guys, when you guys are doing this, I want you to wait for her to lay. When she SITs, I want you to take one step backwards and pause. And if she tries to come out, I want you to rush back to block her. And you can make the hissing sound too. And you're going to do this, it's going to feel like a dance, walking back and forth, but eventually she's going to stay there when you take your step back. And the idea is, well, actually, the first way you're going to wait until she lays. As soon as she lays, you take a step back and invite her out. So don't move away the first time until she lays on her own without being told to. Then immediately after that, take another treat, throw it in there, and let her go get it without blocking her. If she has any lean, like I showed you earlier, keep doing that till there's no lean, and then walk in the other room and do something else. Preferably play with her a little bit if you can, or give her a special toy. The next time you do it, you want her to do the same thing. She should start laying down faster and faster. When you get to the point when you put her in here like this, and she lays down right away, then you're ready to start moving away. But to help spike the punch here and make this more of a positive association, whenever we leave, we should leave a treat in here. You should also, sometimes you might want to get like a bully stick. I don't like giving dogs rawhides because they're soaked in bleach and formaldehyde, pneumonia, a lot of other nasty chemicals. I like bully sticks. Get a bully stick and drill a hole through the middle of it, and then take a zip tie and zip it to the back of the kennel. So the only way she can get it is by being in the kennel, but the door is open. So she gets practicing being in the kennel while she's doing something she enjoys. The last thing we want her to do is panic or think that we want her, if she's freaking out in here, she's practicing being unbalanced. We want her to practice being calm. So basically, I recommend the guardian get a bed liner that'll have a little piping on the side, and just get a light white or light cream, and get rid of the blanket. So that way when there's a treat waiting there, she'll see it immediately. So we want to keep on, and like probably the same thing. Now this has probably got some negative baggage, so we want to do the same thing that we're doing there, but instead of just doing 10 treats 3 times a day, we might do it 10 treats 5 times a day and do it for like a whole week. But if you do it right and leave treats in here when she's alone, eventually she'll be like, I'm gonna go hang out here because this is where the treats fall. Now, once you can get, the first stage I talked about, again, waiting for the dog to LAY, then we take a step back and invite her out as soon as she LAYs. And we keep repeating that until she LAYs within a minute or so. Then when that's the case, I take a step backwards like this. She comes forward, I take a step backwards like that. I would normally make a hissing sound too. And so you're gonna do this, it's gonna feel like a waltz going back and forth, back and forth. But you want to, now at this point, I'm gonna wait for her to, I would normally wait for her to lay down before I take the step back. And that will cause her to get up again and you repeat. And eventually you'll take a step back and she'll stay laying down. Then you invite her out. The next time you take a step back and you wait 2 seconds before after she lays down before you invite her out. And then 5 seconds, then 10 seconds. And eventually you can start taking more and more steps away. But the idea is we want her to practice being in the kennel, calm, and the only way she gets to exit the kennel is by sitting or laying down and being completely calm. After a while, that's what she'll do. All right, I have other videos that go into this a little bit more detail, so if you have more problems with this, let us know. This is not the primary issue the Guardians want to help with, but this control will help with bladder control, chewing things, a lot of other issues. Okay, so I talked to the Guardians first off about, the rest of this is going to be the traditional roadmap to success. Now when I'm doing this, I'm trying to face the camera here, but when you're doing it, you should be face the dog like this. All right, so what I want to do is, what the Guardians need to do is get her more exercise. She gets walked, but it's not very frequently. And it's Nebraska. It's not that fun to walk your dogs, and we're in an apartment, so we don't have a yard for the dog to run in. So it's even more important the dog gets regular exercise. Your average dog needs an hour's worth of exercise. If she starts whining, that's kind of what we're looking for. So I'm guessing she's going to start doing it here in a minute. That's okay. So since we have stairs, what I recommend to the Guardians get a retractable leash, go to the stairs with an empty stomach, take a treat, touch the dog's nose, and throw it to the bottom of the stairs. Let her run down and get it with a retractable leash. You stay on the top step. When she goes down to get it, maybe say lobby, and then we call her back up. And when she comes back to us, we give her another treat. We call it penthouse. So now we have a command word to go down and a command word to go up. What I would have you do is the first time do it with an empty stomach and keep doing this until she just says, I'm laying down the landing, I'm not coming back up, I'm too exhausted. I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere between 50 and 100 repetitions, and I count each down up as 1. So once you know what your maximum is, let's say it's 50, well then she should probably get anywhere from like 15 to 25 of these 3 to 5 times a day. So she likes to chase the cat, she does some rambunctious things. I think a lot of it is too much excess energy. And it also contribute to a chewing problem and some other issues. So if we can get her a proper amount of exercise, that's going to go a long ways towards helping fix her problems. It's not going to fix her problems for you, but it'll make fixing her problems easier. And if you don't do it, it's going to exaggerate the problems you do have. Okay, so exercise number 1. Number 2 is didn't have any real rules. So I suggested a number of rules. One of the rules I suggest is not being allowed on the furniture and for 30 days or as long as the problem's still going on. And then after that, furniture with an invitation and only for good behavior. So when we get to the point where there's no more accidents in the house and she's listening, she's not chasing the cat, then it becomes, I tap the couch when I want to give her permission. It's for only for good behavior. So if she barks, she'd have to get down. The second rule I went over is not being is making sure that the humans are eating something before they feed her. Dogs eat in the order of their rank. So you don't have to eat her actual meal. Just get a chip or cracker, put food in her bowl. Don't let her eat it. Use the escalating consequences to keep her away, and then eat your chip or cracker, whatever it is, in 5 or more bites. A real meal would be ideal, but you don't have to do that. That's not realistic for most people's schedules. So after you eat your 5 bites, you give her permission to eat, and I would come up with a fun command word that means to eat. So the name of your favorite restaurant, your favorite dish. Let's say it's lasagna. So every time she takes her first bite for 2 months, you say lasagna when she takes her first bite. After a while, lasagna means eat. So you create a command word for that. All right, so that'd be another rule. The humans have to eat before she eats. She's not free-fed and she eats all her food right away. Normally, I would say dump any remaining food once the dog walks away. I'd also say the dog should not be within 7 feet of any humans who are eating food themselves or preparing food in the kitchen. So what you can do is you can actually help the dog practice that. What I like to do is get a piece of bacon or lunch meat, microwave it, and sit down at the table like you're going to eat a real meal and simulate. Cut it in half, put it on your plates, and pretend like you're eating it. So when we're eating, we're distracted and thinking about eating, and the dog crosses the threshold and we don't see it quick enough. Well, now we're just pretending to be eating and making it simulate so it smells like it for the dog. And then when the dog crosses the threshold, we get up and we march towards it using that third consequence. Or we hiss first if we can achieve it with the hiss. And once the dog sits or lies down beyond the boundary, then we put that stuff away and we serve our actual meal. Do the same thing with the kitchen. microwave a piece of bacon, put it on the counter, and then pretend like you're cooking. Pull stuff out of the fridge, turn the stove on, oven on, bang pots around. As soon as she sits or lays down, then we start her actual cooking. She also should not go out any stairs or out any doors before us, down the hallway ahead of us, down the stairs ahead of us. On the walk, she needs to walk next to us. For dogs, whoever's in front is perceived the leader, behind is perceived the follower. So make sure she perceives herself as the follower. She's practicing avoidance now, turning her head away. It's not pouting, but it's in that realm. Okay. Let me see, what other rules? If you're playing fetch, make her drop the ball, and then sit before you pick it up and throw it again. Things along those lines can go a long ways towards helping. Look for other rules that can incorporate, like if she sleeps, well, she doesn't sleep, she sleeps in here. This is a great way of delaying gratification. You can't exit the kennel until you're calm and balanced, and then you get freedom. I'm going to reward things I want and block you from things I don't want. I'm not going to punish you, I'm not going to yell at you. I'm just going to not give you what you want, and as soon as you do what I want, you get rewarded. That's really called operant conditioning. Now, operant conditioning is also what I do for passive training. Passive training is waiting for the dog to voluntarily offer you behavior that you want. Most of us don't realize that any attention for a dog from a human is validating. So if the dog's chewing something, you scream at it, the dog's like, cool, he's paying attention to me. Well, we actually train our dogs to do those things because disobedience, it gets our attention immediately, where positive behaviors, like coming and sitting in front of us, get ignored. And I'm going to talk about a way to fix that through what I call petting with a purpose. But for passive training, this is basically wait for the dog to do what you want. So every time that the dog sits on its own out there or anywhere, pet her and say sit. Remember, try to pet her under her chin. Anytime she comes to you, pet her and say come. Every time she lies down, pet her and say whatever the command word is to lay down. Every time she brings you a toy, say the name of that toy. When she starts pushing, it means she's getting a little more frustrated. We're getting closer to the goal that we want to achieve, so don't take that as a bad thing. So name each toy. Every time she brings you a toy, dragon, fish, brick, whatever it is, and then you say, no, give me the dragon. No, that's a hamburger. I want the dragon. And so you learn, and so the way you assign that, every time she brings you the dragon, you pet her and say dragon. Every time she brick, so on and so forth. So that's passive training. Come up with a word for each other. So if you come in the room and you see that the dog just walked up to me and I missed it, you can say like testify or recognize. And I reach over and I pet the dog, whatever it's doing. If it's sitting, I pet it and say sit. If it's standing, I'm assuming it came to me and I would pet it and say come. But just get in a habit of reminding each other gently. So now we are rewarding the dog for these desired behaviors that it offers on its own, as opposed to chewing things up or grabbing the remote control or slippers or whatever it is. Now, petting with a purpose is when the dog initiates contact, because she likes to nudge with her nose or paw when she wants attention. She's telling us what to do. If we do it, that tells her she's the boss. So instead, when she nudges you, I'd like to see you give her a counter order, tell her to sit. She's already sitting, ask her to come in SIT over here. I'm spelling it because I don't want her to come out, even though she's not doing it here. And then keep on doing that and making her do something to change her state to earn affection. After a while, she'll just come sit in front of you to prepay for that attention. Now she's offering you the desired behaviors. Make sure you do pet her. Try to pet her on her chin like we talked about and say just the command word. Don't say good sit, just sit. Even if you want to pet the dog and the dog is not initiating contact, still tell the dog to do something to earn it. This is also referred to nothing in life is free or no free lunch, but basically it'll boost the dog's self-esteem and also deepen its respect for the humans because I have to do these certain things to get the humans to give me attention, pawing at them, jumping up on them. She doesn't do it in an aggressive way. She really has a very playful, loving energy, and the Guardians, I think, struggled a little bit at the beginning of the session when I was asking about rules and structure because they were like, I don't care about this or this or this, but there are things that they do care about that there's a connection between the two. And don't think about it as being mean. Like we talked about the human psychology, we look at rules as a negative or a mean thing. It's not. It's a limitation. Just like I'd like to drive 100 miles an hour, but that's not appropriate. Even though my car can, I like doing it. That doesn't mean it's right. If I get busted doing that, I'm probably going to lose my license. And I'm going to lose driving privileges as a consequence. For her, if she paws at you, that stops you from doing things. If she sits, that causes you to do things. So she'll start offering those behaviors that you want. Now, she also likes to jump up on people, especially when people come through the door. So one of the things I suggest the Guardians do is use a form of operant conditioning for that as well. So what I would do is when you guys are coming home, call or text each other ahead of time. And basically, before you actually go on the door, the person's going to put her on a leash, and they're going to step on the leash so she can reach about this far. Let's say that's the door. Actually, it'd be further away. So you want to have the person to be able to come in the door, open the door, and close the door and have her not be able to reach them and have about another foot or two of space after the edge of the door as it opens. And so what the people do is they're going to turn sideways and be just right outside of her reach. And you might want to put down some painter's tape on the carpet. And she's going to be like, oh, pet me, jumping up and barking. Don't say a word. And remember, stand up against the couch so that she can't run around you. And as soon as she settles down, usually they sit, but sometimes they just settle. Turn and start going underneath her chin, actually more like this, to pet her. Now, as soon as you turn and start going like that, she's going to get up and start wiggling. Step back, step out of her reach, and turn to the side again. And then basically you're going to keep on doing this back and forth. When she's calm, you try to pet her, but as soon as she starts excitement, you stop. And so the first several times, you won't even be able to touch her. You'll just start reaching and she'll get excited and you'll pull back and step away. But eventually she'll start SITing and calming herself down faster and faster. So instead of micromanaging the dog and telling it not to jump up, we're saying through our actions, when you're sitting, you're very attractive to me. And when you're calm, I want to pet you. When you're excited and try to jump up on me, I step outside your reach. I'm not going to get mad. I'm just not going to engage with you. It'll take a little bit of practice. Now also make sure that when she jumps up on you guys, you do not pet her anymore. What do we usually tell people in our puppy class? As soon as the dog jumps up, cross your arms so that it can't nip at your hands and just freeze and become boring. Wait for her to jump down. As soon as she gets down, pet her and say the word down or off or whatever the word is you want to use. So the idea for this is, again, we're rewarding the desired behaviors and shunning or ignoring or freezing when they offer the undesired behaviors. Now, I also went over the 4 escalating consequences I like to use to disagree with the dog. I'm using some of them here. Number 1 is to hiss 1 time per incident. Number 2 is to stand up abruptly and turn to face the dog. Remember, your authority goes whatever direction your hips and shoulders are pointing. So when the dog moves around, track. As soon as that dog's stationary, take 2 steps backwards and only 2 steps back. Boom, boom. And then wait for 1 second, and then you can go back to doing it. That's the second consequence. Well, that's actually the third one. So that was the first and the third one. So the second one is stand up abruptly, turn to face the dog, keep it in front of you till it's stationary, take 2 steps backwards and pause for 1 second. The third consequence is to march deliberately at the dog. Keep marching, don't stop, but move briskly at the dog so the dog almost has a flinching experience. And if the dog goes there, don't keep walking this way, walk wherever the dog is and walk towards the dog until it turns sideways or away from you. Soon it does, freeze, put your feet together, and then go to the second consequence, pivot as long as the dog's moving around. Once it's stationary, step, pause, and then go back to doing what you're doing. So the fourth consequence, and the only time that doesn't apply is if the dog's already breaking a rule. Let's say the dog's not supposed to be in here. I would march at the dog and turn sideways, but it's still in an area it's not supposed to be in. I would try to walk at the dog. So let's say the boundary is that wall. I would walk at the dog in an attempt to kind of use my energy to push the dog backwards, not physically pushing, but the dog's moving back away, and I would stop enforcing it at the line. So that's how we enforce an invisible line. But if I started, let's say that the line was there and the dog turned sideways here, well, it's still breaking the rule. So I'd ignore it and keep walking into the dog and would stop only when it got to the line. All right, so the fourth consequence is putting the dog in a leash. Stepping on the leash as far away as from the where it attaches the collar is the tail. So in her case, about 3 feet. Step on her with both feet, don't say a word. She's going to flip out, throw a protest, don't say a word. As soon as she sits down, she'll sit as far away as the leash will allow. So if she sits here, I take my foot that's on the leash and slide it and the leash towards the dog to take the tension off the leash. A minute later, sometimes several minutes later, the dog will LAY. Sitting, like I said, is I'm challenging you less. Laying down is I surrender. And what I'm saying is, look, I warned you not to do it by hissing at you before you broke the rule. You broke the rule, so I stood up. You broke it again, so I marched at you. You broke it again, so you're not paying attention. And sometimes they go from that into an LAY. She's like, no, I'm just limbering up. I'm just getting
She's ready.
So now the key for this one is the first time you do it, you have to outlast the dog. So I may end up, because I'm a little bit late on time, I may end up transitioning to have one of you guys standing here and waiting. And if that's the case, I would have you guys wait until she LAYs. Mm-hmm. So preferably without switching, we don't want to do that, but we might have to do it here. So make sure whoever's going to do this uses the bathroom and the whole 9 yards. It doesn't have anything to do. Have your phone, have a magazine, turn something on the computer so you can watch a little TV and relax. And you have to, one of the dirty secrets of dog behavior is you have to outlast the dog. Each time you let the dog outlast you, you made it twice as hard the next time the dog is going to go through that activity. So that's why this one is really hard. Like I said, the record is an hour and 15 minutes, but you have to outlast the dog. The next time it'll be faster, then it'll be faster after that.
She might break it.
I thought you were going to do what I wanted you to do right there. You look like an ASPCA commercial with the bars in front of you and that sad dog look. That's not going to get you out of there. There's one thing and one thing only that will get you out of there in SIT. Now, like I said, if I were to continue doing this, I would just do it in SIT, but for you guys, wait for the LAY, because that's just the whole enchilada we're looking for. Anyways, we already have time invested. How much time are we at already?
20.
20 minutes. So might as well just, she can't stand there forever. Eventually she gets tired, but that's how she learns. As soon as she does, that's when she gets out. And have a treat. So as soon as she comes out, she gets that treat and that reward. And I would come up with a word that means release or an exit. Call it holiday or vacation or something like that. Again, a fun word. Speaking of words, I'd like the guardians to come up with a list of the official command words. Not come here, come over here, dog's name, dog's name. Come up with just one word, just here, just come, just sit, whatever it is. And put them on, and then say vocabulary. If one of you is saying the word to somebody or to the dog, you're saying, come here, vocabulary, come. And it makes it easier for the dog. Also be careful of inflection. Dogs do hear inflection. There's a difference between sit and sit. So say it the same way. They do respond a little bit better to baby talk, but a lot of us don't want to use baby talk all the time. So I just say it consistently across the board. Yep. And don't let her stick her head out like this. So I'm just kind of doing a little soccer player deal. There we go. And when you're doing this, the dog normally uses, this kennel is usually positioned this way. We're doing it this way. You want to do it lengthwise because she would just be able to run out. There's no way for you to use this way. And the more she escapes, the more she will continue to escape. But right now, the guardians have to actually physically put her in here. If they do this right, she'll actually start hanging out in her on her own. All right, well, this, very determined, we don't say stubborn, we say determined. Positive words matter. Don't assign a negative connotation to your dog. Don't say it's naughty. First of all, ask yourself, have I taught the dog how to behave? If I haven't, then that's not the dog's fault, that's my fault. And then break the activity down into small steps and help the dog practice step number one over and over and over again in the easiest version until the dog behaves the way that you want. When that's the case, only then go to step number 2 and then step number 3 and do all the individual steps first in the easiest version. Then bring them all back together and do them. Now the dog knows how to behave at each step along the process. Then we practice that in the easiest version and we gradually make it a little bit more realistic until we work our way back to the real world situation. And the dog's just like, yeah, that's what I do. I was hoping we would achieve that. All right, well, this is Bella, and this is Bella's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.